Nice. We're connecting with
Hello?
Dr. DINKHA. Hi.
How are you?
I'm good, very good. How are you?
Good, good. I'm trying to organize. Here we are. I'm trying to organize this thing.
I'm going to
Mehdi's.
Wow. Yeah, she's connected. Thank you so much. We're going to have fun, definitely. Well, now that Magdi is here, before he leaves, I wanted to thank him so much for introducing me to you and giving me the chance to be able, let me put my headphones, I forgot that, giving me the chance to interview you and share this knowledge with everyone. Yeah, now
I'm very, very happy with us. I think we have a good topic. Yes. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So for everyone, yes, perfectly. The purpose of this interview is to bring awareness about obesity, eating disorders, and health. And this is why we have Dr. JULIET DINKHA here with us. So please tell us about you and how you are so passionate about your career and what brought you into this career path.
I am a licensed clinical psychologist from the U.S. and I've been in Kuwait for the last 15 years. I am also an associate professor at AUK and been in clinical practice for forever and ever. I won't tell you so you won't know my age. But I mean, I guess it's a good question. Why did I get into this? I think there's a lot of factors of why I was an immigrant in the U.S. and I always felt like, you know, people didn't really understand me, didn't understand my culture. I was always wanted to be put in a box of whatever the Western culture requires, and my parents were very, very conservative. So I felt like, you know, I wanted to be able to go into psychology so I can help people like myself and be able to be bicultural, bilingual, and offer back to the community. And it's a really, to be honest, it's a very, every time somebody asks me, are you happy you made, I was supposed to be a pediatrician. And then I decided, you know, it wasn't for me, even though I like kids, but I felt like my calling was more to be able to help people and try to get them out of their situation. And I'm very passionate. Like people say to me, you know, would you have changed it? Would you have done anything different? Never. I love both of my jobs. I love teaching. I love disseminating information. And I love being able to have someone that comes into the office and they're vulnerable and they've got a situation. And for me to unfold it with them, help guide them with whatever situation they have. And that's the progress. Like when you see them progressing, you really feel so fulfilled because you really have done something nice and it's good. So I'm very, very passionate. It's
very nice soul.
Yeah. So I feel like, you know, I think, and you know, the thing is that a lot of times, especially when I came back to this country, I felt like people misunderstood psychologists. I don't feel like people still to this day have a lot of stigma about, you know, if I go to a psychologist, then I must be crazy. So, I mean, these stigmas also exist in the U.S., but in the U.S., it's become much more prominent that people can talk to their therapist. They don't mind saying, I'm going to my shrink, you know, those kind of terminology. Here, people come, but they are very leery about someone finding out. They might think that I'm crazy. They might think, you know, that there's something wrong with me. And to be honest, we don't work with crazy people. I work with normal people like you and I that have someone. They need someone to hear them, someone that doesn't judge them. They need someone to be able to be objective with them, someone that can guide them without, without putting the stigma on them. So you get people that really need help, and a lot of times they'll wait for a long time. They've already passed the trauma and the stress that they have, and it's been accumulating. They'll go to a lot of other means of helping themselves, and finally they realize, I really need a psychologist. And most of the time people say, is this confidential? Are people going to find out I'm seeing you? And of course not. It's very, very confidential. I mean, we're trained to keep people's secrets. I feel like, you know, more and more, even though like for the last 6 years, I feel like more and more people are talking about psychologists and psychiatrists. But still, you know, here people are leery. They'll wait and wait and wait before they come to you. Yeah. Sometimes they don't even know that they have a problem. Like they know that they're not feeling good. They know that there's something wrong with them. Even as simple as like depression, which it's like the flu of their mental health. Everyone has been depressed at one time in their life. Not clinical. It could be mild, moderate. But people like will, you know, wonder if they can, you know, just keep the time and maybe it'll go away, or maybe, you know, something else will happen. until they get to the end and say, you know, I need to get help. So
yeah, they need to do action with it. That's a very good interview. Yeah, because by the end, I think it's more the sense of belonging, love, feeling self-worthy, valuable, safe. So it's like many of traumas and all this by the end food disorders may come from a lack of self-esteem. And that's what I like to talk a lot about. So I bet you find a lot of people finding by the end of the trauma, it's some kind of source of not feeling valuable with themselves and not loving themselves.
Oh, of course. I mean, a lot of childhood traumas, you know, if it's sexual abuse or physical abuse, or even trauma, like if they experienced an attack or a robbery, or, you know, a really bad car accident where someone died in the car, for example. Physical abuse is very common. Sometimes they even witness domestic violence in the house. And they've, you know, this is a lot of stressors for them. So as kids, they start to, you know, have these feelings. But, you know, kids, a lot of times, they don't know how to express their feelings. And if they don't feel safe in the house because there's violence, obviously you're not going to feel safe. So what they start doing is they start to eat their emotions, you know. So you've got this trauma, this stress, you don't feel safe in your house. There's nobody to give you support, and you're not supposed to talk about these situations because it's prohibited and forbidden, and maybe someone will blame you, especially for women, right? So what they do is that they'll realize that, you know, and without even conscience, I think, because food makes us feel good. And because food makes us feel good, we start to automatically start eating. And then because it feels good, we start to learn a behavior. You know, when I'm feeling sad, let me just go eat. And especially, as you know, I mean, that's even more your profession than me, processed food, for example, they taste good.
Refined.
They're sugar, carbs, I mean, all of these things. So whenever, you know, I'm sure you and I do the same thing. Whenever we're stressed, the first thing that our body craves is these carbs and these sweets. Yes. And that probably has a lot to do with, a lot of research says about stress and insulin level, cortisol levels, all of these hormonal levels that are not adjusted well in the person's, you know. So what happens is that they'll, because they're, you know, if their insulin is low, if they are stressed, so that cortisol plays a part in it. If they're even having hormonal changes, for example, all of these things, we have to put them in a factor. That's probably why they are craving, you know, these refined food or sugar or carbs, or, you know, even like these junk. And also because, you know, as soon as you, I mean, I'm sure you've had the same experience. Like, as soon as I have ice cream, I feel like the world is mine, and I'm so happy, right? And we reward ourselves. That's another thing. Besides that, we are trying. So if you've worked hard today, what do you reward yourself with? You don't go run and jog. We reward ourselves with food, right? Yeah. So it's a reward. It's a punishment. Yeah, it feels good. It tastes good. And let's be honest, these kind of foods are cheaper than if you buy healthy food. That's another thing. So if they're cheaper,
in the long term, they're not, though, I think.
That's right. In the long term, they're not. But people are not thinking in the long term, right? They go to Baqala. The first thing you see is what? Chips.
Sugar.
You see sugar.
Chocolate.
Yes. I mean, you don't see, like, you know, protein shake, or you don't see, you know, glucose free, or, I mean, all of these other. So you see bread. You know, you see chocolate and chips, right? So of course this is like, and then you eat it, you feel good, your brain says, oh, this is nice, so let's do it again. Again, that same feeling, I have that feeling. If I'm stressed, if I want to reward myself, okay, well, I remember, it's unconscious. I remember when I had this feeling, this is what I used to do. And then we start doing it.
Yeah, instant gratification. I always say we live in a microwave society, so when we experience something that is not what we like, we just want a button to solve it, instead of like stopping for a moment and going inside of us, like, okay, what am I feeling? Where is this coming from? Maybe it's not something from now, it's just something from before. So I find it so useful that there's people like you that can actually just help us to go inside and understand certain emotions that maybe we experienced when we were little kids before 7 years old, when we only work with our emotional body. or even when we're teenagers, that we're more in the physical, but we still not develop those mental wireless connections to understand, like, oh, this is because of this, and forgive ourselves for many things and understand that the others are not doing anything to harm us. It's just what they do. I think everybody does what they can with what they have. And they do it because for them it's proper to do it. That's how they were taught to do it. So it's even what I try with my clients is to rewire the way they think. But your support as professional is so necessary because I'm sure I'm not the only coach with this, but when most of the women that I work with have some kind of eating disorders, even I experience it myself when I put so much pressure into my practice, and we get so close with that perfect body and that perfect image, and we don't feel worthy if as a coach we're going to look the way we're supposed to. Even though knowing that that's not healthy all year long, and it's not healthy mentally, emotionally, or physically. It's just, it doesn't go all the way around.
Right, and I think
I just got like a lot.
No, and I think you're right. I think, coaches are much more stressed because then, people judge you. And if you don't look right, if you don't look fit, then that puts an extra stress on how your clients are going to believe you. And so, I mean, although I don't really work a lot with coaches, and I know Mahdi always tries to educate me on this. I mean, the idea of trying to make sure that you're fit, the level of exercises, counting calories, making sure that you eat this or that, So I think that is a lot of pressure. But think about it also with the clients you work with. The idea is that, I mean, when was the last time people really, I mean, when we were kids, I don't remember anyone coming to saying, how do you feel about that? Right? We're very kind of like a do kind of a society. We as human beings, we always do. So when if you have a bad day at school, or people don't usually, parents are not used to saying, well, why did you have a bad day at school? Or unless you're educated and you're a psychologist. So if you don't know, even parents, they don't know how to process feelings. So even when they see that there's something wrong with their kid, they won't even approach that idea of what is wrong with you, because then they are worried that they're going to hear information from their kid about feelings that we're going to be overwhelmed and we don't know what to do with it. Although there is no, most of the time people think when you're talking about feelings, you have to have an answer. And so people don't ask you how you're feeling. People don't care about how you feel. They care about your productivity. They care about how you look, right? They care about what have you accomplished. So even as kids, we hardly ever ask our kid, how do you feel? Can you identify? I mean, think about kids that grew up in domestic violence or aggressive home, right? What have they been taught? They've been taught when you're mad, you hit. Or on the other hand, it could be that anger is a bad thing, so you don't express it, right? So they don't express their anger. But anger is a natural emotion that you can express. So what do? They hide it, they don't talk about it. And our body is it's like a glass, right? So the more you fill it, the more it's going to explode. And how does it explode? Well, in my view and what I see, it explodes by having all these, mental health symptoms. When you have panic attacks, and when you are, have low self-esteem, when you have suicidal thoughts, when these didn't just come from 2 days ago or 2 weeks ago. These are things that have been piling up because you have been either scared to talk about your feelings. We've never been taught to talk about our feelings, or we've been told that feelings are not important. So we don't identify them. And when we eat, we feel good, and we think that that is the solution. And I mean, for me, although eating disorder is not my specialty, because you really need to be special, and we don't really have a lot in Kuwait, because you really need to have a center for eating disorders for people that have severe eating disorder. But the ones I see most of the time are emotional eaters, right? Where they don't know how to express their feelings. Many things have happened in their childhood that they either don't remember, right? Don't want to talk about. They've dismissed it. They've lived in a denial, and they don't really connect that, okay, well, you are the size that you are, this obesity, this sense of running to food. I mean, beside if it, unless it's physical or hormonal, then it's a behavior. You've learned, and people really have this behavior, but they can't connect it. What does that have to do with my feelings? Most of the time people ask, what does that have to do with my feelings? They don't really understand that your behavior, your eating behavior, and your emotional are connected. And like you were saying, rewiring, we have to rewire. We have to get them from the start. And that's why for us psychologists, like we delve in, like people ask me, why do I need to talk about my childhood? You need to talk about your childhood because that's very important to me, right? And people are like, well, the idea is that my childhood has nothing to do with this. I'm here because I'm having panic attacks, right? Now, granted, panic, yeah, anxiety attacks, it's true. It's a physiological symptom. And most people think that it's not connected to a lot of things. And it's true. There are a lot of research that says it's genetics, you know, and there in anxiety, some people just have panic attack. But I don't believe that. I believe that there are also other sources that it's not going to eliminate your panic, but it can help you be able to manage them by identifying your triggers, identifying your feelings at that time, maybe coming in turn and forgiving yourself and other people that have maybe contributed to some trauma in your life. And I feel like it's a process that some people are scared to go through, to be honest.
Is it true though that I was just thinking, because in the well, I read in many words how when people get obese, somehow they're trying to make the body bigger, so they call more the attention, even because they're trying to gain attention, but at the same time don't be seen, in order to put to like something they're feeling, like I'm hurt and I'm filling myself those gaps with food, therefore I'm getting bigger. So I feel my fat is protecting me from the outside, because I believe a lot that the body is an expression of everything we're feeling, and any kind of disease that we experience, it's related to some either past trauma or unhealed emotion. So when I work with obese clients or any kind of food disorder, which mostly in my field, it's more bulimia. Usually it's either bulimia or binge eating mostly. Always, especially with high top athletes or people who has like high standards of the body in order to maintain it. And it's not only because of the look and the external factors, it's just like, at least if I can put myself in this situation, how I understood it is I'm worth it according to what the others think of me. So that's where I put my value. And that's why I got so interested into all the wellness coaching and psychologists and psychiatrists, everything related to the mind, to understand like, why do we value ourselves for whatever others tell us about ourselves, and how can I work with my clients, not only the physical body, but also go to the mental and emotional, bringing them that security and self-love that by the end is what's going to help them. Because diet, everybody can do a diet plan, but it's not only diet, it's the lifestyle of loving yourself and eating healthier and changing, doing sport. But it's sports, not everything that's going to get you there. Because what I see is they reach the point, or we reach that point, and then we fall back because it's not consistent. You're getting to that point through a lot of pushing yourself, and I have to do, but it's not something you're integrating at the same time. So in all my career, until the time now when I'm integrating those things, I'm not really feeling satisfied with my body or the changes that I'm experiencing. And this is where I think it helps so much to bring awareness to other people.
Yeah, and you know, while you were talking about obesity and body, it's true, definitely. People like, especially people that are, I mean, it's twofold. One of them is that, you know, people that are already, they hate themselves, so they're not going. I mean, in order for you to make it as a mindset that this is a lifestyle, you have to have some self-value and worth. So if I hate myself, I'm not going to take time to be able to exercise. I'm going to eat more because this is a representation of who I am internally. And also it's a protective form. Now, you know, I also see this like with a lot of sexual abuse victims, for example, because there's this concept that ideas is that, you know, if I am fat or obese, I am unattractive, so nobody's going to harm me. Right? So if I am, you know, and I was not laughing, I was thinking one time I had a friend and her husband was very, very jealous, and she was like attractive, European, and then she started gaining weight. And then, of course, there was domestic violence in the home. But the interesting thing is, like, that she said, and this was like, maybe 25 years. I was just studying, and I was like, why are you gaining weight? You're tall, you're attractive, you just had a baby. Why are you keep on eating? And we worked together, and she just like, and we were on night shift. I was on, so every time she would just like bring chips and bring sodas, drink a lot of Coke. And then I was like, so then we got closer, and then I said, why do you do that? I mean, why are you doing this to your body? And she said to me, because he's very jealous, but if I gain weight, then he's not going to be jealous because no man is going to look at me. So that just tells you, I mean, then when I became a psychologist, and then like, I realized, I mean, she's still my friend, but as the idea is that realization that, here I am, I'm going to, and that telling, first of all, she was scared of his jealousy. There was domestic violence. So how can I protect myself so that way he doesn't hit me? Well, let me just have this view. Let me gain weight. Let me be fat, because then he's fine, because no man is going to find me attractive. And therefore, I don't have to be hit. I don't have to worry about him being jealous. And then I can save the family. But she missed the point. The point is that you're not saving the family because you're not saving yourself. Right? You're putting yourself at danger of obesity. Now she has like all these health problems. She never was able to lose the weight, and actually she's very, very big. And the idea is that she's never gotten to that point where she understands that I love myself and I'm not going to do that. That is his problem. Jealousy, he needs to get help for that. Well, I'm not going to cure his problem by devastating or deteriorating my sense of worth, killing myself, because I'm going to make him feel safe. And so there's a lot of people that use their body. And as you can, as you were saying, our body is a mechanism of expression. And so when people don't feel safe, they don't feel safe at home. When they're criticized all the time, from childhood they're criticized. When nothing is ever good enough. This is where we get people that have eating disorders. I mean, eating disorder is all about perfection, right? They're all about control. They live in a home that's chaotic. There's probably a lot of issues between parents, or there's a controlling mom or dad that constantly controls them. And so when you've got parents who are perfectionists, who expect perfection, who constantly criticize their kids, that nothing is ever good enough, there are going to be kids that either going to be bulimic, anemic, or binge eating. And therefore, and then for them, this is the way you grew up. This is the way we deal. So they don't really understand it until they can come to get help, and we put the puzzles together. So the idea is that is my body. And like I said, there are people that will gain weight, will be fat, because they're either don't want any problems from their husband, or because their parents always put them down anyways, and therefore it's not going to make a difference. If you don't
but that's like yourself. Another topic, Also, toxic relationships.
Exactly.
I would love to talk about it in the next interview.
Yeah,
because it's a boom topic. Also, I'm gonna write it. But yeah,
it's true. It's true. And we did a podcast on toxic relationships on the project Kuwait. You might want to hear it. We talked a lot about toxic people, and there's also this other new one. It's like toxic positivity, where people are always acting like they're positive. So if you live in a home where everyone is saying to you, no, you don't have a problem. Oh, come on, other people have worse than. They're not empathic. What are these people going to do with their feelings, their kids? What are they going to do? Of course they're going to have that ice cream. Of course they're going to love sugar. Of course they're going to love candy and sweets, because there is no means of being able to say to myself, it's okay to feel like this. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to feel sad. All the time, our kids, when they're sad, I've heard people say, don't be sad. People, there are other people worse. Why are you sad?
Don't cry.
Don't cry. Or boys. I mean, I feel really bad for guys, to be honest. I teach a class. I have a chapter, one of the classes on gender, and I say, I really empathize with guys, because they grow up, don't cry. Be a man. I mean, he's 5 years old. We're telling him, be a man. You have to do this. You can this. And then he gets married, and then the wife is having a problem with him because he does not express his feelings, right? So he's like caught in this two world of like, okay, I don't know feelings. You don't know feelings if you've never really been taught how to express them. This is not genetic. Expressing feeling is something we learn. And if we don't learn them from the beginning, if we don't have a teacher, forget about your parents. There's always somebody in our life that should be welcoming that. And unfortunately, a lot of time we don't have that. But obesity also has in this culture, or even in America, I don't know why we say in this culture, we're not any
everywhere.
different anymore.
It's worldwide now. It's worldwide.
I think with obesity, it's like it's a form of culture, especially here. If you want to meet someone, let's meet for a coffee. And then, of course, we have to have sweet. If you want to talk to someone, let's go out to dinner. I mean, when we could do those days, the normal.
Yeah.
We're obsessed with feeding ourselves. I don't know too many people that just want to go have coffee and just have coffee. No, we're tempted. We should have something. And so the idea is that, and like you said, it's a lifestyle. I was telling you earlier when you and I were talking, it was not until 2015 when I realized I needed to have this lifestyle. All my life, I have been struggling with being overweight. Maybe not obese, but I was overweight. I was the fattest kid of my siblings. Always been. So what did I compensate with? I ate and I went to school. I was the smartest in the family. Whoever hears this now, they're going to be mad. Because what did I do? I did two things. I put my energy into studying and I put my energy into eating. I could eat 2 bowls of rice. I could eat rice every day. No one, even though my parents, my mom constantly criticized me about my weight. She always, because we're from an Arab background. So she always says, nobody's going to marry you. You're fat. Look at your sisters. They were more athletic than me. I wasn't. So all my life, I grew up on a diet. There's not a time that I haven't had a diet. I'm telling you, if it's diet, if it's, if it's, eat this, I'll do this. I don't know what. Sometimes I've lost a lot of weight because I've cut a lot of calories, but it was unhealthy. I was doing this like back in the U.S. where you see Oprah Winfrey drinking this milkshake. Well, I was there with her, right? And then
I got milk.
That's right. Or drink water. I don't know what. And then it wasn't until 2015 I fell from my house stairs. Then, of course, a lot of my friends are doctors. I go to my doctor friend and I say, I go to work and I act nothing is wrong. My back is killing me. And he says to me, look, your back is really bruised if you don't lose weight. And here, if you would have looked at me, I was heavy on the back area, my thighs, but maybe not as much here. So people think, and I dressed well, so I know how to navigate. I've been fat all my life, right? So he says to me, Juliet, I'm your friend. You're obese. And I said, what? I'm not obese. He's like, you are obese. If you don't lose weight, you will have a back problem. We will have to do a back surgery. I swear, Patricia, I sat in my car. Of course, I went by myself. I sat in the car. I start crying and crying because it was the first time ever someone really said to me, you're obese. I'm like, I'm not obese. I call my friend. Do you think I'm obese? Of course, your friends don't want to tell you. They're like, well, you're a little overweight, but you're not obese. And ever since then, I have made it. I forget about diet. I eat whatever I want. I eat it in a smaller portion. And I exercise. Exercise has become my life. I do this on a regular basis. If I'm not walking, I stand, I walk, I take the stairs. If I don't have time to exercise. Oh, and back then, I didn't have time to exercise. So I will diet with food, and always didn't have time. I was a student. I ate macaroni and cheese and tuna. I was a graduate student, didn't have a lot of money. So I was like, okay, well, I'm not eating much tuna and macaroni and cheese. I eat macaroni and cheese pretty much every day. It was just, I didn't have time. People say, and my university, I went to top universities, all had gym. Never went to a gym. I don't have time. Because it was never that, because I still had that criticism from my childhood that you're fat. No one's going to find you attractive. So for me, I was feeding into that idea. Okay, well, it's not going to make a difference. Whatever. And then I realized, no, it makes a difference. I'm older. My kids are small. If I'm going to have a back surgery, it's going to be obese. Actually, obesity is in my family. Diabetes is in my family. High blood pressure is in my family. And then I realized, no. This is not my life. I can't be a good example for my kids. And I tell my kids, don't eat this, don't do that. And here I am eating chips. Don't do that. I'm eating chips.
Yeah.
And then I realized 2015, I decided I am only going to exercise. Exercise was the primary now, and eating right was secondary. But to me, it worked for me. And I don't say I'm on a diet anymore. I never used that word since then. And I realized I'm worth it. I'm attractive. I'm smart. It's my self-worth. Plus, I felt like I was being a hypocrite. Because how can I sit and help someone unwind their background and their life and their stress and their traumas when I wasn't following the same rules? And I said to myself, no, I'm not going to be a hypocrite anymore. I am going to be able to be an example for my clients, example for the patient that says I need to lose weight. Because if I share my story, it's a step. I tell them, I just started walking on treadmill 5 minutes, not even. I was like heavy breathing. I was dying 5 minutes. And then I said to myself, 5 minutes? And then I said, at that time, I was a little younger than now. And then I said, wow. And then I added 2 more minutes until I started 1 week feeling comfortable with this treadmill. Then I started walking, and then I got a trainer. And then since then, I run, I walk. Today, ever since they gave us this 2 hours, I take my daughter with me. Let's go. We'll walk, fresh air. Even if it's not fast walk, it doesn't matter. It's a form of life now for me. It's not something kidding anymore, Long story short, sorry.
No, it's amazing. I love real people. So it's great to have real. This is. I was just talking in the last interview about this. I think, especially, I think all this year with the 2020 and the portal, but the portal of consciousness. But I think Corona is also bringing a lot of awareness and choosing what we really want, who really adds value into our life. Starting from social media, from detoxing from certain relationships, from detoxing from certain bad habits that we all have and catch ourselves on once in a while. So I think it's great. And but my question is, sorry.
And with COVID-19, people are like stressed already, and they're anxious. They don't know. The future is unpredictable, which is causing more people to gain weight. And I'm sure that's happening. And gyms are closed. But people need to be creative. It's important to me. I take the steps in my house, right? I walk out the street. At least they gave us 2 hours. But before, it's like people need to be creative, and people that really have changed their lifestyle and have made a commitment. See, this is what people are missing. I make a commitment to me. It's not to my mom, and it's not to my family. It's not to anybody. And I get rid of all toxic people that keep on saying to me, oh, Juliet, you're getting too skinny. No, Juliet, don't eat this. Those people I blocked. I only want to be with people that are supporting me, that says to me, yes. So people need to do that. You got to appreciate who you are. You got to love yourself and say, this is what I'm going to do. If someone's going to put you down because they're gaining weight and they want you to gain weight. And right now with COVID, people need to have a routine. They need to move beyond this idea of, okay, well, we don't have a gym. Oh, okay, well, everyone's gaining weight. Let me gain weight. And it's bad. It's true,
I wanted to say, do we all have to experience like a breakup point in order to really realize that we're going the wrong way? So is it necessary to have an emotional breakup?
Yes.
To is there any way to get a shortcut and get aware before? Because I get this, you say that you realized that you were obese when you fall from the stairs.
Yeah.
I have many examples, but one of my closest clients, she realized from a picture. They took a picture from her and she saw oh my God, this is me. Or I have the same case with the client that's too skinny and she was suffering from anorexia, but she was not aware of it. Well, it's not really anorexia. I think it's called nervous anorexia.
Yeah,
and she would just stop certain foods and control what she eats, and by the end it's the obsession with controlling the outside. I can't control it, so I control myself. But I would say control is fake. So control doesn't exist. So
yeah, it is.
Why do
it's
we
a fake control, right? Yeah. It's a fake. I mean, I'm a professor at university, so I see a lot of people. A lot of the girls have anorexia, to be honest.
Which age do you teach them?
So I teach university, so they're 18 till 25.
18.
Yes. So I see a lot of them, like you'll see someone very, very thin and they're unhealthy thinness. And because this is, we're bombarded by social images that says, that being attractive is you have to have a size 0, right? Being attractive. So they're comparing themselves with social media and they're realizing that body image is important. And if you want to have marriage proposals, I mean, they also have mothers like me, which says you're never going to get married. In this country, it's important and it's one of their, need. So here, the emphasis is like, if you're fat, then if your mom is constantly saying you're fat, you're not going to get married. And then, or your friend is engaging in bulimic kind of style, which is like when you vomit after eating, right? Or binge eating, right? So the idea is that they have a friend. A friend says to them, I did that and how I lost weight. And then they start using it. So the first time, second time, it becomes a habit. All of these things become a habit. And then you're and especially like anemics, I mean, bulimia, for example, or anorexia. Anorexia is like, in college, there are a lot more anorexic, especially now within this millennials, because back in the days, well, at least my age, you're still young. Marilyn Monroe was like a size 14. She was attractive. Back in my days, if you're curvy, I mean, I wasn't even curvy. I was just a ball. But if you were curvy, you looked nice, right? And so if you were like a size 10 to 12, that's good, But then now it's like if you go to these stores, I've never imagined that I was going to say a double zeros in clothing. So these young girls are obsessed because they've been told, and when they compare themselves to the pictures or what's attractive, what do men really like, especially women are obsessed with this, but also men. I mean, men, if you don't have a six-pack or a seven-pack or a six-pack, then you're not attractive. If you're not training and, joining all this like trainers, then you're not attractive. So there's a lot more stress because we are bombarded by these false images that, I mean, when I was trained, we were never able to diagnose eating disorder until they were 12. Do you know now we can diagnose them at age 7? I mean, doesn't that like, can you imagine?
At 7?
You can diagnose it at 7. You can see it in kids at 7 and 8. I mean, and one time I saw this girl, she was 8 years old, and this is the language, I mean, 8 years old, you should be having fun. You know what she said to me? I said to her, so what do you do for fun? Nothing. I will exercise a lot. I have to be thin because mommy says I have to be a model. Are you serious? So I'm like, really? So what do you eat? No, I don't eat a lot. I take a banana and an apple. That's it. I was like, oh my God. My daughter's 10. Is this what we're talking about? This is how young. So when I was trained, it was like at that time, it's like, maybe the behavior starts because usually a lot of time mothers who have eating disorder also, their daughters will have eating disorder. So, and it's also, don't forget that, a lot of these eating disorders are genetic, environmental. But if you've got someone that already is saying, I have to be a model, mom says I have to watch what to eat, I'm a gymnast at 8, and you feel like, wow, can you imagine what this girl is going to happen to her? By the time she's 14, she's going to be so anorexic, she'll need hospitalization. That's what exactly is going to happen. And we don't have hospitalization here, actually. They have to go to the UK or somewhere because we don't have a treatment center specifically for eating disorder. And when they're that bad, they need treatment centers.
I'm surprised because there is a lot of people with eating disorders in Kuwait. And in my short experience here, because I've been here for now 9 months, I believe, I found so many people in a woman's gym with eating disorders.
Oh,
this
yeah.
This is one of the main topics I wanted to push with this kind of topics because, like the same way they were open to talk to me, I wanted to just break the stereotype that these topics you can't talk about them when everybody has them. And in certain points of their life, they're studying and they went to eat and they get stressed or breakups and many things. They need to know there's people available to help them.
But lack of education, like a lot of women, the women I see at least, they've been bulimic for a long time, but they didn't know it's bulimia. right? They've been binge eating and they didn't know that was, they just thought that that's just the way it is. We don't really educate these kind of things. We don't talk about it. So a lot of times eating disorders go, we talk about depression, we'll talk about anxiety. And throughout those, you know, we can talk about like emotional eating. But I've seen women, they're like, once they start talking to me, I'm like, I think you're bulimic. No, I'm not. Because they don't have the education that this is the form of behavior that you've been doing since high school or middle school. It is called this. So I feel like we need to do a lot more talk, and especially here. So I see bulimia. Anorexia, I don't see a lot. Obviously, I told you that it's not my specialty, but anorexic, they really, if I do see them, they have to go to it depends on if they're really bad, they have to go. And because anorexia, you really need to work on their distortion. You need to work on their control issues. You need to work on their self-worth. So they need a treatment center that can have a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a nutritionist, a medical doctor. Yes. So, but for example, bulimia, a lot of times people don't know that they have eating disorder because they look healthy, they look fine, right? So a lot of times they're like, no, I'm healthy. I just like, you know, I vomit sometimes, or I count calories sometimes. Like they don't really understand because, and people are never going to recognize that. Like even in my classes, I'll see the one that's anorexic because she looks unhealthy, thin, right? Or I'll know somebody, like if I've seen them a couple of times in my different classes, I'll see how much they're losing weight. Unless they've done that surgery, which a lot of people do here, then there's a problem. And I'll mention it, but I can't really say more because they're like, no, there's nothing wrong with me. And then, but the emotional eaters are even a bigger number, where people just want to soothe themselves. They have an emptiness inside of them, and they haven't found anything else to soothe them except the food. And then they become addicted. And you know, research says that addiction to sugar is just like addicted to drugs and alcohol. It's same.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's legal.
People don't know that, but it's legal. Exactly.
Like it's legal, it's good, you know?
Yes,
and as we were talking, sugar generates the same stimulus in the brain as cocaine.
Yes, that.
So,
and even the withdrawal are the same. When you stop them from eating, I mean, now there's also rehab centers in the U.S., for example, where they take people with food addictions. And when you go into treatment, what they've noticed is that their withdrawal symptoms are just the same as someone withdrawn from cocaine. And that's mind-boggling because, more, like you said, it's legal. You know, they're not comparing it as an addiction. I love food. I love to eat. And this is how people justify it. But if you love food, but you're risking your health, you're risking, you know, all of these, like, I mean, diabetes. And especially if you have it genetically in your family, you are putting yourself at risk. So,
but it just breaks my heart how society, I don't want to blame society because by the end, it's us who allows them to enter into our head. But since we're kids, if they teach us what's being good looking and what's good and bad, and then society, supermarkets, the biggest lanes are always chocolate and sugars, and then we get rewarded by sugar when we're kids. So our whole wire in the brain is wrong. Then when you get to a certain age where you're conscious about this and you find yourself like, oh my God, like I have to like unwire everything to rewire to something good, what would be a few tips that you could share with us in order to start all that rewiring? I mean, what can someone... Yeah, you got my question.
Yeah. I mean, the idea is that, you know, rewiring takes a lot of effort. The first thing people need to do, just like if you're in an addiction, you got to make a promise to yourself. Like, you know, addicts, when you put them in an addiction center, the first thing they got to do is they recognize that they got a problem. So if people that have eating disorders or eating problems and they're not really understanding that this is a problem that is contributing to your depression or anxiety or your panic, like panic attack, one of the things they got to do, I mean, actually for me, anyone that comes to me, the first thing I say to them, they got to walk at least half an hour every day. And they got to be able to eat certain foods because some foods have a substance that takes your serotonin and it decreases it. So I said to them, especially if they're on medication, I say, okay, so you're going to be on medication to increase your neurotransmitters and your serotonin, but then you'll eat these type of food that is going to make it less. So it doesn't make sense to me. People, once, if they get educated, once they know that there are certain foods we cannot have when we're depressed. I mean, for me, in my field, there are certain foods you just can't have. And I say to them, you love them, that's fine. You have to sustain from them so that way you could see the result of my work. What's the sense of coming to pay me money? And then go and continue with your habits and continue, because rewiring requires that sort of commitment. And the first thing I say to them, are you committed to do this or not? Because don't come pay me money, so that way you can just talk and not make any changes. So I give them 5 sessions. They have to keep a journal, not a food journal because I'm not a nutritionist, but they got to keep a journal of feelings, because people don't talk about feelings. So I need to have it written on paper. We got to download your unconscious. That's what we need to do, rewiring. So once they start writing, once they start connecting, and they got to exercise and eat the specific foods that we say. If you don't do that, then your journey to recovery is not going to work.
It's a waste. Yeah.
It is a waste. So a lot of people, I'll see people that are very committed and you'll see them change. And then there's other people that they are not committed. They're saying they're committed. They want to change, but it requires effort. And the first thing they got to say to themselves, no, I deserve to be happy. So if you cannot make that commitment with me, that I am here because I deserve to be happy, I want to love myself, then that's not going to work. Not because your mom told you to come here, or your dad, or not because, your husband told you you need to be cured, not because you have a panic attack. People come because it's a crisis. Okay, so you have a panic attack. Well, panic, we got to do these things. Besides, you need medication, because some anxiety attacks, you have to have medication. I mean, I'm not like a psychiatrist, so I don't really promote it, but some disorders require it. And then these are the steps. Are you committed or not? Are you willing to work with me? Because I give you the tools. You got to go do it. So to rewire someone's mind and brain, A, you educate them the steps that they need to take. B, they have to make a promise to themselves. Just like if you're going to addiction, I promise that I will work on myself. I have a problem. Do you know how many people I work with and they still haven't accepted they have anxiety disorder or depression or eating? They come and tell you I have it, but then they have not recognized it. Do you know what they think in the back of their mind? That I am going to be cured. Look, no one ever get cured 100% of mental disorders. I totally disagree of anyone that says you can. It can be mild, it could be doormatted. But once you have depression, you will always have depression, but in a different form, right? So why sit here, laugh at yourself, and tell me I want it to all go away? It's not going to go away. This is the norm. But what we can do is work. Just like now, people say, I can't believe when we're going to go to normal. Well, there might be not normal. This might be our norm. We just have to accept it.
This is a new normal.
This is a new normal. Accept it. This is what we're going to do. We're going to do this. Accepting it. Why should I sit here and convince myself that I'm going to be normal? This is nothing. There's no normal, not normal. This is the way it is. I accepted I was obese. I accepted I needed to do something. I had to come in acceptance. So when people want to say, no, I want to get help, please help me with my emotional eating, but in the back of their mind, they have not recognized they have emotional eating and they still feel that they could be like high school. It doesn't work this way. We got to rewire and accept the norm. Whatever the norm is, that's what we have to do. And it's
absolutely. No, it's good. It's good. We still have 10 minutes. Let me see
before they cut us the other day, Mehdi and I
we can recall. I just really like to do the interviews on Instagram because it's more accessible, but YouTube has a limited time. So with time, I might swap so we can stay longer because 1 hour when it's so much wisdom to share, it goes so fast.
Now, I know some people asking questions, but I can never catch up to what they're asking, I guess, yes. So I don't know if you want to answer some questions or...
There's not really questions. The more question I see is that it affects the kids, and you actually cover them. If I see anything, I usually write them. But you've been covering everything on the time. One was saying that the thing with your kids, I think they learn by imitation. So any kind of healing technique that you can do, when you heal yourself, your whole world heals. So
And
that's why we need to take care of ourselves.
Right, and I want to emphasize, it's the idea is that we should not be going and telling our kids, you got to exercise because you're fat. See, that's the problem. So when people say to me, no, but I tell them not to eat that, we're obsessed as parents. We want perfect kids because if they're fat, it means I'm a bad mom. So it's not the kids' problem.
But
it's
your
my
mom is
problem.
fat.
But your mom is fat. Yes, exactly.
I will never accept advice from someone like that. Like, your life is not good. Oh, okay. Tell me about your life.
Yeah, it's the same thing. People, fathers is like, smoking away, and he's saying, don't smoke, okay? Well, I mean, I understand that what they're trying to say is that they've made the mistake, they're addicted, don't do it. But for eating, we have to make sure that we introduce the idea that this is our new thing. This is eating healthy. Instead of saying to a kid, don't eat so much today, you're already fat. Don't eat this, you're fat. You're going to die of this. We don't want to do that. What we want to do is implement it for the whole family. But the family, they'll get the mom and dad that are not healthy, and they think they want their kids to be healthy. Well, it doesn't work that way. When we're exercising, we exercise with them when we have a chance. If there's a chance I can take the stairs with my kids, I will. Now these 2 hours, we walk. I don't care if you're tired. We do it. This is because I'm doing it. And I'm not sitting on the couch watching my Netflix and say, go walk and come back. But parents, they have to be committed, not make the child feel bad, because those kids are going to have eating disorder. The kids that grow up hearing, you're fat, you're this, you're that, they're going to have the same problem as me. Right?
Internally, that needs to be the role model.
Yes, because they'll grow up wanting to go on a diet. Yes, they want to lose weight for their parents. Yet, and the other thing is that the more we push our kids by saying, you're fat, you need to lose weight, what are people going to say? What happened is these are the kids, also the girls especially, they'll have anorexia because they can't control what's happening. So they want to lose weight to make their parents feel proud of them. And, the parents are screwed up. I'm sorry. We're screwed up because I don't want someone to see my kid fat and then what the hell? What's wrong with you? What kind of doctor are you? You kids are fat. I have genetics. That, yeah. I have genetics, and my kids are not thin. I have genetics. We have environment. I can do the best I can, but it cannot be in the sense of my only conversation with my kids cannot be, you're fat, eat this, eat that. I have other things to talk about it to my kids. Why should I bombard him? But if I show him, let's go walking. Let's do the treadmill 5 minutes. Let's do this. Now they're starting to lose weight. It gave me time to stay home and focus. Really.
We do have one question. So it says, do you get normal eating behavior just by being normal weight? Yeah, anyone can have an eating behavior, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And then they say, do you get bulimia when you have had anorexia?
Not particularly. You don't have to. There are people that have bulimia without anorexia. But
another question. What is cause of mood swings? Mood swings? Most common observation.
Mood swings could be a sign of depression because most depressed people have mood swings. Sometimes if it's in a woman mood swing, it could be hormonal. It could be imbalance of, but mood swings, oftentimes we associate them with depression, with stress. Right now people are stressed, so they're moody, they're worried about their jobs, economy, all of these things probably cause you to be moody. Women, sometimes it's hormonal, like they're during their period time, imbalance of their chemistry. So it could be many reasons.
We have 5 minutes, so at the last, for sure, I want to say where can we find you and all your social media, and any will be post and YouTube and the link under this video. But I think there is time for some other questions. But I think we more or less answer everything. Where are the most common disorders you have treated and how you approach them? So you say a lot of panic attacks. Did you make
I work a lot with depression. I worked a lot with anxiety. I do work with a lot of kids. Not kids. I don't work with kids, but I do college. There shouldn't be kids. They're young adults. Adjustment disorders, for example. People with personality disorder, even though, like borderlines, bipolar. I work with a variety. The only thing I don't work with is children. After I had mine, I decided I can't handle anyone else's. I like, forget it. So I don't. I mean, you know, I work with ADHD sometimes in older adults. So, yeah.
Then we have a question: how can we be happy?
How can we be happy?
With self-love.
Yeah. Happy is a choice. It's not genetic.
Yeah, I always say that happiness is a choice.
You can make that choice today. You can say to yourself, I've decided to be happy, which means you don't have to be smiling. I think people don't understand happy. Happy means it's contentment. I'm not smiling all day and walking around, but I'm content with what I have. It's not the same as other people have. Maybe it's less, it's more. It doesn't matter to me. I'm content. And I always thank God.
Abundant.
And I thank God for everything I have. So if you compare yourself and you look into it, you're not going to be happy. Happiness is a choice. I made that choice. You can make that choice.
Exactly. Great. And then they say, does stress cause anorexia?
Yes, of course it does. Stress causes everything. Cancer, all the psychological and physical disorders. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, and unfortunately, this society claps to stress. So the more stress and overload with work we are, the better professionals we are and the best workers, which is such a mistake. And I think, I mean, I'm trying to see the good things of Corona, but I think it just gave us time to do things that we never had time to do and to look inside of ourselves and
to be honest, I'm very
productivity.
Yes. And I'm like you. I feel like I needed a pause. I was going very fast in my life. I wasn't spending as much time with my kids. There were so many other activities. I wanted, like, finish a book, write these things. There's so many things I couldn't do. And to be honest, I am happy that I got this pause, because if it wasn't going to be a world crisis, no one was going to pause me. You know, I'm never home. I have 3 different jobs. I'm in the media. I'm in this. And I am so thankful. Not thankful that we're going through these crises and all these people died. That's really sad to me. But for me,
it makes you aware. It makes you aware.
Because I decide now. I can decide who's my friend, what do I need to do for myself and the kids, and what direction I want to take my life. It gave me time to think, and I hope that it's doing the same for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's forcing us to be with ourselves. And I always say, like, if you're not good with yourself, your own company, who you want to be okay with, you should be your best friend. We have another question that says, are women more likely to eating disorders than males?
Yes, but males do have eating disorders. I think we've used to see them in women, but men who are athletes, wrestlers, for example, gymnasts, all these athletics that require a certain weight, boxers, for example, yes, they are a lot at risk of eating disorder, but not as much as women, of course.
Last 2 minutes, where can we find you?
Oh, I'm on Instagram. It's dr.j.dinkha. And where else can you find me? I guess all my information is there. So if you go on Instagram, you can look at my stuff.
I will also share it in the bottom of the video. Just tagging all the posts. This is going to be live. We have 1 minute 45 of glory now. I really want to thank you. I really want to. When I see the countdown, I'm like, oh. But,
it's so nice. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much.
I wrote like 3 topics, like toxic relationship, mood swings, and the thing you said, like, I don't have time. I would love to I want to break the sentence, I don't have time, because it's like a pattern. You say, I don't have time, I don't have time, I don't have time. And you end up believing you don't have time, but it's not true. So
but you do have time. You know, when I decided I have time, I had time. Exactly. And no one takes time away from. I used to take a client and not go work out. Now, no. I tell the secretary, I work these hours. This time is my workout. It is religious to me. It is something I never give up for anyone. Yes.
Also limit. Yes. Okay, so let's close with a good sentence, a message. What message can you send us for
be happy.
Summer?
Oh, what can I say?
Just to be happy.
Life has ups and downs, but it's a choice. Whatever choice you pick, that's what you have to live for the rest of your life. Decide me. Love yourself, because no one else is going to do it. I know it sounds cliche, but it's so true. Prioritize you and decide what is good for you, and then you can include everyone else after that.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. Dinkha.
Thank you.
I hope to see you soon again.
Inshallah.
Bye-bye, everyone. This is the last 10 seconds. I hope you enjoy it.